Question right back here.
I'm Douglas Wheeler from the University of New Hampshire History Department. It's been a wonderful panel, and thank you all very much. I agree with the last gentleman who spoke that I don't think a draft is practical or possible, but I think the debate, the national debate about a draft is worth it. But my main question is, are we not spending too much of our blood and treasure in the Middle East at the moment? When we have a new strategy in the future, shouldn't we re-examine the extent to which we put so much into this region and neglected Russia, in many ways not looked at Europe enough, Latin America, or even North America? And in a way, I think, given the fact it's very complicated because obviously we haven't done enough with the Israeli-Arab negotiations. We need to do much more there. But shouldn't we rebalance our regional efforts and re-examine how much we put into the Middle East, particularly into civil wars, intervening in civil wars? And it seems to me that's my question. Thank you.
Sarah or Jim, you want to take a shot at that?
I think we need to, I think one of the points that Senator Obama has made time and time again is that we need to be consistent in our foreign policy, and that we need to be broad and expansive in how we look at the areas that are important to us. And rebalancing may be precisely what's required, but I don't know that we are choosing civil wars in the Middle East to engage in. I would argue that Afghanistan chose us, and I would argue that we chose regime change in Iraq. And neither of those, I think, fit the model that you're describing. I think this notion of when you would commit the nation to war is very different from where you would engage the nation internationally. And so if the vision of the new president is that America will lead across the globe, and that America will pursue security where it's necessary, that will be the fulcrum of the focus of his leadership. And I think Barack Obama's ability to separate out what would be a war of choice versus what would be preventative action to avoid entering into military engagement is a critical component of rebalancing, as much as geography is a critical component of rebalancing. And this question of judgment and leadership about how you deploy all of these elements of national power, about where you commit American diplomacy, and about the circumstances in which you inspire and engage others to deal with common threats, I think is a more useful overarching theme to describe what we could expect under President Obama.
I think your point is well taken about a resurgent Russia, other challenges in the world, because we've been in Iraq longer than the United States was in World War II, which is a long time for a nation to be focused on one thing. And if you take your eye off the rest of the world, then it creates a challenge for you. One of the things that strikes me as very significant about Senator Obama's platform is that when he talks military and national security issues, he is not just talking about the Pentagon. He is talking about broad policy. Now, for some, we had a question in the last panel that talked about energy. I don't look at energy as a green issue or an environmental issue. I look at it as a national security issue. And I go back, what if we had actually listened to Jimmy Carter? You remember when the lines were so long? Okay? But as soon as the oil flowed, we forgot about it. If you were to trace our involvement in overseas ventures since that time, I think many of us would come to the conclusion that we were involved in places that we otherwise would not have gotten involved except for our dependence on other people's energy. So the issue of energy independence becomes one of our most important national security needs to give us the freedom of movement in the international arena to do the things that are important, not just the things we have to because we're chasing after oil.
We're going to let General Smith have the last word on this panel with that.